because we got some news over the weekend that's been tough for all of us. It wasn't on the offensive line, it was on the other side. It was newly re-signed Levi Onwuzurike. Sounds like there was a little bit of a pre-existing condition that got inflamed or what have you. And
we have the Dan Campbell audio if you want to run that real quick for the people.
Let's go to that, absolutely, Spenny.
All right, let me start with Levi. Levi is out for the year. All right, Levi's surgery was, it was significant, but it needed to be done, out of his control, and it needed to be done, and so he will miss the season.
So to me, I got to say, it sounds like Levi's going to be back with the Lions after this year. That's what I'm hearing in that presser.
It kind of sounded like that, and I would not be surprised at all if that was the case, because we've seen this team do that with a guy in Emmanuel Moseley, where you re-signed him, suffered the season-ending injury, and then you re-sign him again for even cheaper.
Davenport.
Yep. So
you know what? It also sounds like the Lions may have got duped.
Certainly.
Why do you sign a guy who's injured? Why do you sign a guy and, I got to have surgery? That decision wasn't made after you made the sign. That decision was made beforehand, but then you keep it to yourself, and then you do that. It sounds like the Lions got duped by Onwuzurike.
I think so too. I think that Levi knew his knee was uncomfortable. The Lions probably just had faith in a guy that had been in-house for some years now, and they just said, hey, let's sign on the dotted line. And I guess I'm wondering, because anytime you get a trade or you're bringing a free agent in, you're doing your due diligence. You're sending them to the dock, This kind of seems like a situation where they just said, hey, this is our guy, put a contract in front of him, and they got duped.
Right. And, I didn't count on this dude anyway. He's always injured, and the thing that angers me is the fact that Zadarius Smith is not with the Lions.
That could change.
This is a guy, I grew up where people didn't want to play here.
Yeah.
They're like, Lions stink. They had celebrations when dudes were leaving. Zadarius Smith is saying, I want to be there. I'll play hard for you. I will go through the wall for you. And by the way, I won't be an asshole and ignore the young fellas. I'll teach them too. You don't get that all the time. And then you can't sign him. If my understanding, it's going to take at max $10 million to secure this guy. Yeah. So what are you waiting for? What's happening?
And Terry, I feel you, and that has been the sentiment all weekend about the Levi news and stuff like that. But we do realize that although he can play inside, he's not a defensive tackle, and that's kind of where you are missing, Levi Onwuzurike is at the defensive tackle spot. I don't think yes, it's a blow. Don't get me wrong. He had a really good year last year, finally.
Yep.
But this is somebody that has struggled with injury during his Lions tenure, and we haven't seen, I would say, the best of Levi Onwuzurike. But going forward, you do have guys in the building, Tyleek, Roy Lopez. I think we're going to get real familiar with him going forward. All that talk about who is this guy last year. We're going to find out who he is. But I think at that spot, you're also going to get a lean back. I think people do forget that. I know it's going to be a while, but you are going to get him back at some point. Still got DJ Reader. This is very much still a strong unit on the defensive tackle front.
All right, but brother, here's where I'm coming from. I assume he's going to be injured. It's like blueberry pie. If you open it up, there's going to be blueberries in there.
Yeah.
And with Onwuzurike, he's not going to be dependable.
I understand that.
That's where I'm coming from.
But does Zadarius just completely fix that? I don't know. I would love to have him back. I'm not saying I don't. I'm just saying, does Zadarius solve that problem? I don't think he does.
think with Z back, it allows you to kick Davenport inside, which he's capable of doing.
True.
My big concern is you lose Levi, who's a system guy and showed a lot of life last year. You're not going to get Aleem until Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And that's not 100% Aleem. It's going to take him a few weeks to get into game shape. And then you got Hutch, who's coming back from a broken leg.
That's the big one, though. You are getting Hutch back. So I feel like that kind of supersedes
how
a lot of
healthy
things.
is everyone going to be throughout the season?
Yeah.
Having so many guys that we're heavily depending on that are coming off of significant injuries is very scary. I think you have to go out and get Z immediately. And if not, because you got too many guys on the end, it's just for depth, for rotation, kicking guys around and coming up with different formats for your front four. So I'm a little worried. I'm more worried about the defensive line than I am the offensive line, which is contrary to what a lot of people in Detroit have been feeling for the last month.
And I agree with you guys 100% with Za'Darius. I think that brings a lot of stability because you look at what Levi Onwuzurike is, and they like him more as an edge. They wanted to use him as an edge last year, but obviously the injury started early last year too, and you couldn't do that. So you have guys that fit that mold on this team already with a Josh Pascal and an Ahmed Hassanin, guys that can play inside and play outside, kind of be that rusher from the inside, but also shoot outside if you want. So having a guy like Za'Darius Smith to solidify the edge spot so those tweeners can move more to the inside, as well as a guy like Pat O'Connor, who's going to have a much bigger role now in this defensive line.
Has to.
I think you got to get it done. I think you had to get it done before this, but now it's just you definitely have to get it done.
You have to. Good thing he's.
And I think Tyreek Williams is going to be a monster too.
Yeah, I think so
That's
too.
where we got to go next. You know, you mentioned one rookie, and Ahmed Hassanin, who I am absolutely thrilled over. I think this kid's going to be a huge surprise and make everybody forget about not taking an edge rusher in the first few rounds. But this kid, Tyreek Williams, out of OSU, is a dog.
Yes, sir.
This guy is steady living in the backfield. And when you look at his production versus like the Shamar Stewarts, the guys that had like 4.5 sacks their entire career, this guy, even though you look at the Sawyers and the other edge guys that they had at OSU that put up the stats, this guy's a disruptor. He's a constant motor, and he played against big schools, against big programs, and the guy produced every year he was in school. I think a lot of people thought that this was a little bit of a reach for the Lions, but at this point, if you're not expecting them to reach for the guys they identify that almost all end up being good players, and you're watching the wrong team right now.
Yeah.
Because these guys saw something in Tyreek. This is a high character, high motor guy, highly disruptive, and I think that he will make this Levi exit much easier to be able to handle.
And plus, he's built like a house.
He is a house.
I sure hope so, because he's not going to have to do a lot in this Lions defense. You just have to be a space eater, and I think he can come in and do that just fine. Of course, like I said, Levi, they were going to rely on him to take a lot of those snaps, but why not get the rookie in there? Get him some playing time, get him some experience. I feel like, with this coaching staff, he'll be able to flourish in that role. Like I said, all you got to do is just be a big body, close up gaps. You're going to be fine. You don't have to do anything special.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited about this kid. I've got my draft insider, and he had brought him up a few different times, saying, don't be surprised if the Lions reach for this guy. Because a lot of people had an early second-round grade on Tyreek.
Well, was he really? Yeah, was he really a reach?
Some of us had the Lions taking him right where they did.
That man right there. That man right
I wonder
there.
who that was.
That's where I was going next, man.
I'm getting
'cause you
sick of
nailed
that
it.
verbiage, though. Like, was he really that much of a reach? Like, I've heard the flagship say, "Oh, it was a reach," but it's a good thing we got him now. Like,
Was
I don't
Jahmyr
think it was
Gibbs
that
a
much of
reach?
No. I was
Well,
reading
yes,
some
but
stuff
that's
about Tyreek Williams being the number 5 defensive tackle in the nation.
He had first
And
round
but
talent.
I read it. That was the 2024 draft. So they're talking a year ago. They were
Yeah.
talking about this. So obviously,
Yeah,
he's where he belongs.
High production, high character. Lions know what they're doing when it comes to culture, and they know what they're doing when it comes to talent. And they mix those two together as fine as the top 5 teams in the league. So I'm really, really excited about Tyreek. And the fact that we lose Levi just means that we're going to see even more of him.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to, especially with Ali McNeil obviously out as well. He's probably not coming back till December, late November at best. So the kid's going to need to step up. I believe he will. All accounts were he looked really good at camp. I know it's camp, so whatever. But
still.
Doc Macaroon, he's down there every year. He knows what he's looking for. He knows not to overreact to different things in camp because he's been doing it for so long. He said that Tyreek was a guy that stood out to him.
So
But you know something? The fact that he looks good in this camp means something. He's going up against other people who can play. I remember back in the day, they would say, "Oh, so-and-so is looking good in camp." I said, "Yeah, but he's going up against scrubs."
Right. This is one of the best offensive
I
lines
don't
in
hear.
football.
I'm not listening to you.
Yeah, I feel you.
Forged through fire. I'm interested
Yeah.
with the recent news. I shouldn't ask you this because I already know your answer. KG,
What up?
do you think the Lions window is closing.
Not at all. We are a long ways away from the Lions window closing. However, every year that you don't do it, the noose gets tighter. So I would really like to see them cash in one sooner rather than it later.
Terry, you've been watching this team longer than any of us. Where are you at with the window?
I'm tired of hearing that the window is closing, because I heard it from friends, brother-in-law, a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Now, I will say the window is closing if these things happen. One, Brad Holmes forgets how to draft.
Yeah.
Then the window is closed. If Dan Campbell forgets how to motivate people, then the window is closed. If they release Penei Sewell, if they Amon-Ra St. Brown, if he stops using the jug and starts dropping passes, yes, then the window is closed. If Jahmyr Gibbs starts running 5.1 40s, then yes, the window is closed. But none of that is happening. What we forget and what people do is they look at the stuff the Lions have lost and they don't focus on what the Lions have. They don't focus on what the Lions are gaining. And the injuries we hear recently have been disturbing, but they're getting back an entire defensive unit.